I'm over random. Okay, easy. Okay, guys, next round of speeches. Today, for this speech with a very special guest. Some of you guys might know him, some of you guys might not know him. This is Raoul. I think one of the legends in the digital marketing space. For those of you who don't know him, I will just do a quick intro. So Raoul, I think you started with digital marketing when, 2010 or something? 2012. Super early into Facebook ads. You know, he built some of the biggest personal brands and coaching consulting brands in the German space. Yeah, some of them doing, I don't know, like close to $100 million a year, I guess, in revenue?
No, less.
A little bit less? Okay. But yeah, he's the founder of Copecard, huge payment processor. And yeah, we were speaking yesterday, and I asked Raoul, like for this group here, you know, there's a lot of people into digital products, into coaching, into consulting. What's like the most valuable topic that you could talk about? And I think you mentioned leadership and like managing a team, you know, building the departments and stuff. Yeah. So yeah, let's make that the topic of the conversation.
Okay, so what are the questions? So maybe who of you have a team that's bigger than 5 or 10 people? Raise your hand. So who is doing around 50 to 100K? Who is over 100K? Who's between 200 and 500K? So most of the people here between 50 and 200K, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Like who has more than 20 people here? Who has more than 30? 40? 50? 60? Anyone? 70, 80, 90, 100? Okay. So, yeah, I think like when I started like most of you, like in the beginning, completely by myself, and then hired my first freelancers, and eventually like you grow over it and you have to find the right people. And yeah, so like I had like all kinds of problems with people. Like as you grow, you figure out stuff, and like in the beginning it was like I had only freelancers, and then like you grow and eventually like you want to also employ people, not only have freelancers, because you need also accountability and responsibility. And I think one of the main things is especially responsibility when you grow, because you don't want everything dependent on you. And a lot of times what is the main problem like to grow is yourself, because you eventually become the bottleneck of the company, because there are different levels of people in your company. Some people that can do things really well and some people not so well. And yeah, so I came up with I asked myself, like, what is an easy way like to manage people, like a really easy way to manage people. And basically I asked myself, like, okay, like certain problems happen. For example, there are people who are doing really well, who are super engaged, and there are people who are not engaged at all. There are people that are doing the job how they should it. There are people who are doing a very good job. There are people who are doing just the bare minimum. So, and there are like so many different management systems. You have, for example, based on OKRs, objective and key results. And it's very confusing. And I hired also like a lot of managers, basically also like from Amazon, like paid them a shitload of money, and in the end, like they were just sitting there like and trying to motivate people in Slack, and every day like motivational message, and having a lot of meetings, but nothing got done. It got way bigger, hired more people, and yeah, so this was not the solution. So I figured out like I want a rating system, basically, super simple. And this is what I recommend to a lot of people, and a lot of people who implemented this got amazing results in a very short time. So basically it's a rating system, not from 0, but from 1 till 9, okay? So, and we have like 1, 2, 3, then we have 4, 5, 6, and we have 7, 8, and 9, okay? So, between 1 and 3, these are people who are mostly just sitting there and doing their job, nothing else. Like, and they do it on the lower end. I don't know, like maybe some of you have employees where you think like, oh wow, what is a person actually doing? Like they're not on time, they're unpunctual sometimes, unreliable, they're doing sometimes the stuff, and you're trying to figure out like brings them to the next level, and then it works a couple of days or weeks, and then they fall back again. So this is like the 1 to 3 category. So they are basically slowing down the company. Everyone who is like between 1 and 3 is like slowing down the company, not moving forward, and just is there, maybe because you don't have an alternative, mostly. So then we have like 4 to 6. This is usually the people who do their job, they do it good, not amazingly. They don't move the needle, they're maintaining it, okay? And then we have 7 till 9, and these are people who are really great, who are proactive, who have great ideas, who are motivated, who want to push things. So one of the first thing, like what I started is like basically just, first of all, you rate your whole company. Every employee, every single employee that you have in your company, you rate them from 1 till 9. The second thing is that you take your executive team and rate them from 1 to 9. So for the people who have an executive team, who are managers or head of departments, team leads, you rate them from 1 to 9, basically. And the thing is that you have then a clear picture, first of all, like where is your company standing? Usually, like you don't want to have this category. But before you now, before you do a rating now and kick out all of the people where you give like 1, 2, or 3, and you want to kick them out, what I also saw is that some people who have a 3, they could very fast develop into a 5 or 6. They were just badly managed. So it's, especially like if you have like multiple layers in your company, like you have like, so you're the CEO of the company, yeah, and then like you have your head of sales, you have your head of marketing, your head of media buying, whatever. Like this is your first level. And then like you have your second level. And especially like if you have like a second level and there are people inside the company, like you have a 3 or 2, most of the time, really it is that they're badly managed by this category. But in the end, everything starts from you. So if you want to have a better company, you need to first change yourself before everything else changes. And yeah, so this is what you first do for all the companies, then you do it for the managers. And then like the question is, okay, how can we get like someone who is a 6 to a 7, someone who is a 4 to a 5 or a 6, and someone who is like a 7, maybe bring them an 8 or a 9. So like you write down like the expectation what you have for the role, like to be a 9, what is to be a 6, 7, 8, 9. So you have like very clear expectations. And most of the time, people who are in this category don't have the slightest clue what is like a really great expectation, because it wasn't never communicated from here. Sometimes it was communicated from here, and even people in this category don't have most of the time really clear expectations. What are the expectations? What is the responsibility that that they should have, and to move things forward actually. So the next thing is then you start like weekly one-on-ones. So for the usually like one-on-ones with your executive team should be bi-weekly, I would say. And every 90 days you review the numbers with them and tell them where they're standing. When you start implementing it, like you start, for example, every week you do like one-on-ones. Every single week in the beginning. People who are in this category, they have 15 days to move on, like into a 4 category. You have one-on-ones, and then like you structure the one-on-ones. First, you start, what are the 3 priorities for the week, for the next week? What are the 3 most important things? Because another thing, people have different ideas of what is priority. So you as a CEO you usually know what is important for your business, but these people here, 50% maybe knows it, the other half assumes it, and even lower, it gets worse and worse. So it's very important like to talk about what are the 3 priorities for this week that should be done. And then you start to ask, what is the main problem right now, okay? What is the main problem or the issue for this week? What is not moving forward? And then you ask people, how did you contribute to this problem? So you want to teach people, it's a culture change usually, Because what happens also most of the time, there's a problem, people delegate it up to you as a CEO. So you get all the problems loaded on your shoulder. So what you want to do is, so you want to ask them what is the issue? What is the issue from their perspective? How did they contribute by themselves to this issue? Like, what is their role in it? Responsibility, okay? And then what is the proposed solution? So that they come up with a proposed solution for the problem which they have and they contributed to it. So that they come with answers. So every week, for example, Monday, 15 minutes, one-on-one, and it's all written. So everything is written down before the meeting starts. So every manager, every person, and if the manager has people under him, he does the same with his team. And everyone comes prepared, written down, saves time. Everything is written and you go down or go through it in 15 minutes. And you have a plan. So you walk through the plan. Next week, you review it. Did we move further or didn't we move further? Yeah? Did we win? Did we not win? And there's a part of accountability. And now, out of all of a sudden, like if you implement it throughout the company, like you have a very strong team, way more responsibilities. You shouldn't have any one of them here. And you have probably like people from 5 moving to 6, and a lot of people moving from 6 or to 8. And people who are already in this category, they're also getting very strong. And I'm talking about like within 2 months, you have a complete new culture, a new company, way more dedicated people, and way better results if you implement it like this. On the other hand, you want to also to implement or connect this part with salary increases, for example. So, for example, if you and over the whole year, you want to have this written down and communicated to everyone, like you get maybe like a 1% salary raise, if at all, or like if you're a 5. If you want like if you're a 6, like you get like a 4% salary raise. So if you're a 7 or 8, you can get like 8 to 10%. Depends on the position, of course, and what department. Or if it's a salesperson, then it's also a little bit of different story. But generally, you connect performance with these numbers so that everyone knows when I'm going back from 7 to 6, I get something taken away. So this is also like a huge driver, very easy, very simple, super efficient. And then with your executive team, every Friday, for example, you have like a 30 to 1 hour meeting, where every department explains what happens this week in his department. So you have like week 34, for example, my department is this, we had these priorities, and then you have like an ample system. Green, yellow, red, okay? So green means everything is great, running satisfactory. If it's yellow, there's a problem. If it's red, it needs immediate attention. So if it's red, it goes from Friday to Monday to this meeting here, where he has to come up with a proposed solution. And you see, every department sees what is the other department doing, how it contributes for the company progress, and on the other hand, what is also very clear is, week over week you can see, is the department still red? Is there more reds than greens? Is it red, yellow, green, or is it green, 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 and then turns into yellow into red? You see how your departments are moving, okay? And yeah, that's quite simple to scale successfully and, in my opinion, companies, and to have great standards, great culture, and great responsibility also with the people, that not everything lies on your shoulders. Because what you ultimately want to do is, as a CEO, like you want to work on your genius zone, on the things that you can do great, and give away all the stuff like that you don't want to do, that you can't do, that other people can do better, to people who can handle it. So, yeah.
Ah, okay, I see. Question from Ratzmann?
For the people 2 levels below, so
yeah.
the management, do you recommend like, do you write what's a 9 and what's a 1, or do you let the managers write what's a 9 and what's a 9?
No, I let the manager write this. Like, there's clear expectation of what the role should do. The manager discusses with me, for example, or asks me, like, is this presented to me? This is how I thought about it. But like, what grade they get, it's up to the manager.
I see. And then you grade the managers, and then you let the managers grade their own team and report
Yes,
back to you.
exactly.
Okay. And then they report once a week or once every 3 months, once a quarter?
Like, this gets communicated, like the grades gets communicated once a quarter.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when it comes to hiring, like when you hire people, executive team or normal employees, like what are you looking for? What kind of tests do you take them through? Where do you hire from?
Basically, where hire we from? We hire from everywhere. Like, we have headhunters, we have recruiters, we run ads, of course. But yeah, like usually it's like this. Like, first of all, like, you fill out application. Every time it's the same thing. You fill out an application. We ask a lot of questions up front. It's usually like 40 to 50 minutes before you move on. Then like you get like an automated HR interview with like questions where we see you on video how you perform. If you go further in the stage, then you get invited to an interview. Then you get like test jobs, and then like you get an interview with the HR and the department head, and then like you get a test job, and then if the test job is good, you get hired or not.
Okay, makes sense. And when it comes to building a coaching business, so many of the people are here now at, I don't know, 50K a month, 100K, 200K, etc., etc. How would you go about team building? When do you remove yourself? How do you structure the company? What do you think are the key hires for people?
Well, it depends. Like, it depends. I would say. It depends. What is key hiring? I think one of the key hires like is actually to hire someone in HR. Because you don't want to do every interview by yourself. Like, you should hire a very good HR person and teach also the HR person what kind of people you want in your company. Super important, yeah. But this frees a lot of time up, like getting yourself out of the hiring process. Yeah.
I'm changing it a little bit. We discussed a little bit earlier, and although you are like much more ahead in the process, we talked about the real estate stuff, and you said you still do some of the things yourself. How do you decide what to still do yourself, and how do you decide when it's worth like just giving it to somebody else?
What do you mean, like?
No, not with the real estate stuff, like just in general.
Exactly, it's your zone of genius. That is what I'm talking about. There are certain things I think that every one of us can do exceptionally well, and there are certain things where we just suck. So like you should figure out where you do exceptionally well, because there are like little nuances that only you can do, I think, amazingly well. And there are certain things that no other person can do because like you consumed so much, you trained it so much by yourself, you got more experience. Of course you want to transfer it down, but it's a longer route. So basically if you can work only on the things that are your zone of genius, like you make better improvements, because like it also comes down to the decisions in your zone of genius and how much impact it has on your business. So you want to work on the things that have big impact and that are your zone of genius.
If, let's say you don't have many things in your zone of genius, let's say you can only do a couple things.
Yeah.
But you can still develop the skills and you can still learn the skills. What would you choose? So like, hey, I want to develop this in my zone of genius. So what do you think it's important to own as a CEO and to still do?
Give me an example.
Like, let's just say I have no skills. I have nothing and I don't know how to do anything. Nothing is in my zone of genius. What would you choose? Would you just choose become like, I just want to become the greatest sales guy and I'll still do the sales. I just want to become the greatest marketing guy and I'll just do the marketing. Which one do you think is more important for you to own?
No, well, I mean, like, sales has probably not the highest impact on that, so I wouldn't focus on that.
Okay.
So I would only focus on the things that has the highest impact.
And what's that for you?
For me personally, I think always marketing.
Okay.
Yeah. Marketing and product on the other hand. Like, if it's software, it's also product. But yeah.
Regarding marketing, you know, when I think we spoke about it in an interview, maybe privately, and you mentioned when people are at $1 million, $2 million, $3 million per year, what gets them to $10 million plus is like a big idea, big marketing idea. Can you speak about the big marketing idea? And that's something you've done a lot with, like Baltic, for example, in the German market, or the other brands that you do, running big marketing campaigns and like changing a complete narrative.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, I think it's always quite hard to explain like a big idea, because this is some part of zone of genius, because I think like a big idea is always like it's part of a feeling for the market, like what the market actually wants and how you can grow it bigger beyond it, because in the end, like a brand is always just a label for something. Same like a label for the bottle of water, that we can differentiate it if it's Evian or this one. This is a label. Yeah, it's a brand. And on the other hand, it's a brand. So we know like which water might be more expensive, which water might be better, and the question is in the end like what idea you need to implement in the collective head to grow a bigger brand, so more people associate you with this, like, and what mental borders you have to break through in order like to own this space, like to achieve victory in this space.
Maybe for those of you guys to give some background on, I know many of you guys just like we do super like direct response marketing, right? So for example, Ratzmann or the other ones, many of our clients, it's like super direct response. You know, just for conversions in the feed, into this, in that. You, for example, with your brands, and you know that's what I guess this big idea is a little bit about. You run like image movies and this and that, and like, when do you think is the right time for this big stage, and maybe transitioning from only like direct marketing and like aggressively going for sales to transitioning into like brand building and like building the big idea?
So, like direct marketing, like a lot of people are stuck in this direct marketing because they only look for the short-term reward. Okay. So in order to grow a bigger brand, you have to delay your gratification process. You have to wait longer, like until it has a return, basically. But the return grows also bigger. So on the one hand, with direct marketing, you attract a certain client profile also. But on the other hand, it's also demarketing for a bigger audience. So like you, and I mean like, you have to go on a way more abstract level, because direct marketing is direct, okay? It speaks about the problem. But on the other hand, like if you want to grow a brand, like you have to create feelings that people associate with, and they take a much longer time. They look at your brand and think about it, and they want to see progress. And this is the other part, like progress in growing over a longer period of time. And this is how you transition from a direct marketing brand into like a much bigger brand that makes way more revenue. Yeah.
When do you think is the right? Do you make it based, like, for example, we in the company, we have super direct response, Ratzmann also.
Yeah.
When do you think is the right point to go more into this direction? Immediately, or?
No, like, I mean, like, I think like you should have a good financial position, and you should have experience. You should know like what is your ICP, like your ideal client profile. You should know like you should have customers basically, and then like, but you feel like eventually with direct marketing you just hit a cap. Yeah. So in order to break through this cap, you have to become like a bigger brand, and grow out from only doing direct marketing. That doesn't mean that you stop it. You just implement also like brand building strategies into it, and not just direct marketing.
Yeah. So how would you, for example, go about it with my brand?
With your brand?
Yeah.
Like for your brand, for example, I would tell more stories. I wouldn't like when I think of your brand, I just think about the Instagram profile where there are slideshows of that were probably created in the Philippines or so. And like, I would like show yourself your personal side way more, why you do things, like how you do it, like how your company grows, and behind the scenes look, like stage things. I would implement all this like to grow out of this space. Yeah.
You have a question? So you mentioned earlier hiring executives, and you gave the example of hiring that guy from Amazon and really doing a good job. So how did you crack that, and how do you find people that want to work at an executive level with you?
Yeah, I mean, like not everyone from Amazon or from big companies is bad, yeah, but not everyone is good as well. So, and like HR as a thing, like you will never figure it 100% out. No company will ever do. But I think you want to look for individuals who are driven and who really can solve problems. So who have experience in what they do and think like engineers. Like you want really people who have experience in what they do and not just managing people. Because managing people, I think this is great if you go like to a super high corporate way, but in the end, like you don't want to have bureaucracy. And a lot of people coming from this company, they are only used to bureaucracy, and that fucks every company that is here in the room. Like because none of us needs bureaucracy at the moment. So you want, oh, that is amazing. Could have used this 15 minutes ago. But like bureaucracy is basically the thing. You want to eliminate as much bureaucracy as you can do, and you don't. And you want to have. You always want to look for people who are dedicated, who are driven, and who dive deep into problems and come up with solutions, and not delegate it down the line to the next person. But who, like even here, like people like who can think about, like you don't want managers just for the purpose of managing. You want. There's always every manager has to manage people, yes, but he also has to create things. He has to solve problems. He has to sit down and think about it, dive deep into his area of competence and responsibility and figure out, okay, how do we solve this problem? And like, who do I have in my team to solve this problem? And how can I take part in that? Most of the time, people who are like, and this is like really most of the people that are applying, they're in the category of like, okay, I get the problem, I delegate it down to my team and tell them like, oh yeah, like we need to solve this problem. Let's brainstorm together, blah, 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 blah. But you need to, like you need this one person who is willing to put the energy into it and start pre-solving it for the rest of the team. That's basically the same what we do as CEOs all the time. Like we figure out, like we think about, okay, how do we build this? How do we build that? And then like we dissect the process and give it like then to the right people, or build the processes or run the things by ourselves first of the time. Like you want, for example, to understand Facebook ads by yourself, and then you give it away after a while, but you want to understand it so you know what you're talking about. And I think these kind of people are always the most effective, and these are the people that you want in your management. Yeah.
Quick question in relation to brand building. So I have like 1 million followers on Instagram, and I don't know what the right ratio is between just putting out content and doing a call to action, because I hear a lot of different things. For example, Alex Raoul says no call to actions in content. Then I hear, so you would say, call to actions every day. How many call to actions can I do without harming the brand?
Well, I mean, like, it's like raising a child, I would say. Like, you can raise your target group to a certain behavior, yeah? So, and understanding and expectations. So, either you have a brand where you only do call to actions, or you have a brand where you do no call to action, or you have something in between. I mean, like no call to action is like is kind of like the strategy of Alex Hormozi, like to grow as fast as he can with as many people as he can. But that's not applicable for everyone. So you have to have some call to actions, yeah? You have to have some. The thing is, on the one hand, why are people following you? Yeah? So it always, in the end, like a call to action should not feel like a call to action. It should feel like something that I deeply desire, because it gives me more access to you, that like gives me access to something that you have that I want as your follower. Because we always buy stuff from people because we want to extend our personality a little bit of this attributes that a certain person or product has. So I think like the worst advice is like to plan how many call to actions you should have, like 5 per week or 7 per week or so. Because in the end, what we want to see is unpredictability in our world. We want we want to be bombarded with new stuff that kicks up our dopamine. So there is no like fixed number of amounts how many you should have, but whenever it fits. So how you can engineer your content, so on the one hand that you raise a lot of desire for your products, on the other hand give it, like you want to build pressure. Like every marketing launch is building up pressure, and your product is your ventil, like is it called ventil? Yeah, like your ventil, yeah, your release button. So this is the same with your call to action in your Instagram, in your stories, in your posts. Like you want to build up pressure, and then put the call to action to release it. So, for example, like you can post like in 1 week just one call to action to your offer, but if you build up pressure the right way, this one call to action is way more effective than 2 call to action every day. In theory, like you have way more call to action, you should have way more people who apply, who buy your product, but it's not sexy. There's no desire. So you should keep first in mind, and this is, by the way, that Alex Hormozy also does. Like he doesn't post call to action at all because like he wants to put out as much content as he has with as much value per second as he can put in. And then like people asking her, okay, like I can't buy. He makes it so hard to buy something from him. Like where is it? Then I look for it, and then like he can ask for almost any price, like to get access to him, which is part of the luxury strategy. Yeah, take away access and availability, make it rare. It builds up pressure. And the buying decision is the thing that makes us feel happy, that releases the dopamine. And that creates change. Usually not the course itself or the product itself, but the buying decision. The moment I spend my money, it changes everything.
Ready?
How do you, for example, integrate scarcity and this rareness if you are spending every day $10,000, $5,000, $15,000 in ads? Because then it's like, even if you can afford to have this month only to discount, for example, right? Like, how would you do that?
I can't hear you, you have to speak louder.
How do you implement scarcity and rarity if you spend, I don't know, $5,000 to $10,000 per day on Facebook ads, and then, I don't know, the 1 month it's whatever, a price increase campaign or like a discount campaign.
Like, how would you keep it authentic? Because the thing is, if you run everyday ad that says, here you book a call, right, for example, it's like, no matter what scarcity I make, be like, oh, this is, calls are all booked, or like, how would you do the scarcity there? Because it feels like people see 15 ads of you and trying to get you to call, it's not scarce.
Yeah, I mean, like this is, for example, like also like part of copywriting and part how you frame it. Like if you appear too needy and are too pushy in your messaging, and this is like the nuanced part of copywriting that makes or breaks the bank, literally. And if you come too needy in your ads, then people feel it. So you want to be like the cool kid in the club, basically. And yeah, you can book a call here, but you don't have to, for example. And these simple things already make a change.
find out what the market wants?
Well, like, first of all, like first the easiest part, you study competitors, you check Amazon book reviews, you check there, like, for example, basically you look at 1-star reviews, because then you see like what people had, for example, what expectations they had. You do the same with the product. And then when you have customers or leads, you send out questionnaires and you ask like people about the problems, of course, what keeps them up at night. But one of the most important questions, what you should always ask them, is like what makes them feeling annoyed. And because this literally translates a feeling what they have in their head onto paper, like digital paper in front of you. And you see the exact words they described in the situations in relation to the industry you're in, what frustrates them. And now with this information, you can create this feeling every time in their head. And this is part of marketing, basically. If you can create like the kind of frustration in your marketing, like you have a huge advantage over everyone in your competition. Because when you make video ads, emails, where you can create this feeling where they are getting sucked into their mental movie, basically, where they're getting like this frustration just from reading your copy or seeing your video ad, whatever, and then you present them the solution. Like, it's not logic anymore, it's all emotion. Yeah. And we buy with emotion. Logic just justifies the sale. So this is how you basically figure out what the market wants. You have to do questionnaires, like forms. You have to know what keeps them up at night, what frustrates them, what metaphors, what feelings, what stories they have with your brand or with the product that you offer. Yeah. And on the other hand, use the words they use. Like, don't invent new words. Just take out the words they use in the questionnaire and put it in your copy. Saves time and works like a charm.
One question that I have, and that we also spoke about earlier, and with Ratzmann and with Simon and everything, for example, with influencer marketing, or also with paid ads, at one point, when you get to, I don't know, 300, maybe 500, maybe $1 million per month, at one point the return on ad spend, it goes down, right? And so one thing that we are now, for example, doing is we're acquiring customers. Now it's still break even, but I guess when we scale more, we'll acquire customers at a loss, right? For the front end product for like $6.95, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. What's your view on it, acquiring customers? I think it was pretty interesting when we spoke, like for Dirk, for example, like you guys like got the book sale for $150.
Yeah, 150 euro.
Yeah, so you spend 150 euros to get a new customer, and the average cart value in the front end, like how much was it?
8 euro.
8 euro, but then over the long term, over like 1 year.
Yeah, we made 500 euro from that. Yeah. So like the bigger you grow, like the more obstacles you have, and then that's why you want to know your numbers in the end, like because you want to figure out how much you can spend on a customer and will still be profitable. And if you can spend more than your competition, then you're winning. Yeah.
Maybe Ratzmann, maybe you have some questions on it, because you're running the influencer marketing also. Earlier in the speech you mentioned 4x return, that's what you're always looking for, and then you're not spending more, right? And for the last couple of months you mentioned like always at around $1 million a month. How would you, for example, go about this scenario now to get the brand and the business to the next level?
Well, on the one hand, when there's a cap, or like 4x, I think is still like if you have like a return on ad spend from 4, you can still go down like to 3 before you stop spending more. Like that's the one thing, and the other thing is in the end like figuring out what is the biggest driver, 80-20, and then dissect it and figure out, okay, how can we optimize this one? Like, because usually like 80% of the sales come from 1 or 2 ads, and how can we make these ads better, bigger? Where can we roll them out, like on other platforms, for example? How can we optimize the follow-up process, like to get more people out of that? And so, for example, what I told you about sending emails, like we figured out, okay, like if he's on day 0, if we send instead of one email and then the second email on day 2 or day 3, we send 4 emails, 5 emails on day 0 because the open rate is way higher. We have double the amount of people who open like the first 5 emails compared like if we do it the other way. Yeah. So we get way more people into the brand, bring way more people like to spend also time with your brand. That's the other thing. Like usually like so that people become a client, they need to have like a certain amount of touch point with your brand. So like for example, like to buy something that costs 20 euro, you need like around 100, 200 touch points. If you have to buy something that is a flight or a house or something that is kind of like high ticket, you need like between 2,000 to 6,000 touch points, and people need to spend around 7 hours with your brand. So this is the one hand. On the other hand, how can I strategically can I engineer that people have to have that they have to spend more time with me, with my brand, that they have no other choice, basically. It can be a simple, stupid video ad where there's no call to action, where it's just about customer results, or like where it's a video sales letter without a call to action, where it's just like a breakthrough moment after watching it, and it cost me, and I spend like 50, 100 euro on that. I don't expect a return, but I acquire a large, bigger audience, and people have to spend time with me. And kind of like what is Alex Hormozzi doing again, it's kind of like the same. People have to spend more time with me because there's more content, there's nothing to purchase, but there's value in for me, so people spend more time with you. And then when they see an offer ad from you next time, they're more likely to buy because they just spend more time. Yeah. So in order like to break through, this is also what I would do. Like I would run more value ads without a call to action, just like goodwill ads and testimonial ads, and bring people to the point that they spend more time. Then I would do webinars probably as well, if he's not doing now.
Yeah, we spoke about it earlier, like 2 days ago or something. One thing that made maybe you want to speak on it also, like for some of your brands, doing like webinars was one of the biggest like game changers, like 3 times a month.
Yeah. So we did a lot of live webinars. Like for one brand, we did over 5 years. We did more than I think 163 webinars. In the peak, every month at least 3, all live. And in total was like that I spent around 10 million euro on webinars, got like 50 million euros out of that. So I would do webinars as well.
People also spend more time.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like it has, if you have like a like you want people, if you imagine as a matrix, okay? In this direction, it's high commitment, okay? In this direction is like invested time, yeah? So time to consume something. So if you give out, for example, a lead magnet, like a checklist, which everybody should have in coaching, 10 reasons why your dropshipping store sucks, for example, and how to solve it. It's here. It's super fast to consume and has low commitment. I just give my email address and that's it. Super cheap, 10 euros, $10, $20 per lead, $2, whatever. Then, for example, you have above that, you have like a report, like 10 pages, 15 pages, okay? Then you have, for example, VSLs. VSLs, well, maybe not here, they're maybe here. So VSL, for example, you leave your email address, you watch the VSL, you can do it anytime, it costs more than these two. And then on the other hand, like you have on the top corner, you have like a live event because you have to block your time physically. In the future, you have to pay money, you have to travel to this place. Before that is kind of like a webinar. So you have to still block time. You have to sit there for 60, 90 minutes, for example. So you have to get this ready. But on the other hand, like people spend also more time. So they're way better qualified. So that's, I think, why webinars are an amazing money printing machine.
Lenny, you had a question?
Yeah, for the hiring again.
For what?
Regarding the hiring of executives, would you ever, or have you ever hired an executive like a head of?
Yeah.
That you would put at 7, for example, but you believe he has the hunger and the possibility to get to a 9 or like an 8 or 9, or would you always say, I would rather find a 9 directly?
No, of course, definitely. Definitely. Like I think no one is like originally like I had it also like till 10, but like 10 is like you have to be like angel for that, you know. So unrealistic. So like yeah, like ideally like you want to hire people who are basically like who have all this is given, yeah. To be on time, to be reliable, and you want to also hire. Everyone wants basically to hire people here in this stage, and then you figure out, okay, people are not like this. You might have someone who is like who has like amazing expertise, like has amazing ideas, but then he's unreliable. Like sometimes like he's on time, and some of the times he forgets something. Then he's like in these terms he's a 5. So like then you have to evaluate like, okay, I have a 5 and an 8, for example. So you count this together, divided by 2, and then you end up somewhere here. Yeah. 6.5.
And if you hire a head of, and you of course want to give away responsibility, right? Let's say he is a 6 or a 7, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But like skill could also be higher.
Yeah.
Right, in these periods. Have you ever hired someone where you feel like you could do the job better, but you know you don't want to spread yourself too thin because it's not your area of genius? Where you could have done it better, or you always hire an executive who has to be better than you at that?
Well, of course, things like this happens, and I think it's very, very, very hard not to do it. But I mean, like this is why you want to have like the expectations down for the role. Yeah, you want to have like clear expectations. What do I expect from you, like about the task or the area of responsibility, and expectation is also, for example, if you have the highest expectation and the person doesn't have the highest expectation of the job, maybe he doesn't know about it, then you have to communicate it. Yeah. And on the other hand, for example, what also happens if you're having people here, like you want to have certain people like mentor people in this area and bring them forward about certain things. That they do great, show this as an example in your company. Super easy. People get motivated, inspired by that, by seeing other people like doing super well. Especially like if you keep increasing like the bonuses by going up the stages.
And you mentioned, you said it's public event, right? This rating system. You mentioned regularly who's who and who's where, and if something changes this.
No. It's not public for the company what everyone has, but like the people know about where they are standing. Yeah. But for example, if someone gets a promotion or like a bonus, or like you want to say, for example, if someone does exceptionally well, you want to announce this also in the company. Yeah. And so, for example, people who are in the 7s, they get like bonuses, for example, like to go to certain seminars, for example, or they get annual bonuses. And 8 bonus, 9 bonus is higher than 7, for example. And then you're like, congratulations for your bonus this year. Like you did very well, and put it in the public chat, and then people see it, of course. Yeah.
And if you hire someone with an executive role, and he's, as you said, not a 9 yet, right? For example, would you interfere with decisions he makes where you think he could do better, or would you let let him do it because you want to have that he has all responsibility. Then let's say if you go in, you could make in that week a 8-week, right? Because like, I don't do this, I realize.
Well, when the decision is shit, of course you want to interfere. Like, but when the decision is great, like, you don't want to interfere. But like, I mean, like, I know from where your question is coming from, but there should be always like a certain authority also. Like, you should not interfere just out of the fear that a person doesn't build responsibility. But like, when the decision is shit, you have to communicate this and explain why.
Harry? You go.
You go.
So spoken from your experience when it comes to values, when hiring people or working with people, so what are, I mean, they all bringing something to the table when it comes to skills and everything, but related to your experience, like what should they bring to the table when it comes to values? So what are the best performing people or something that you are working with, what kind of values do they have?
Well, first of all, like, it should be like, what values has a company? Yeah, like, what are the company's values? So, and directly from the hiring, or like in the hiring process, this should be clear and transparent for the person who is applying, if this is the right place or not. And I think this is where it starts. And I mean, like, this is, I mean, like, why I created this. I mean, like, the best people, they are here in this. They are proactive. They're moving the needle. They bring great ideas, and also not only bring great ideas, but executing these ideas, like figuring out how to make the company better. And on the other hand, they are also incentivized by it because they participate in that. So. I think like these are always great value, to be proactive, reliable, have a sense of responsibilities. I mean, like, being performance oriented, honest, clear, yeah.
How often do you do one-on-ones with your managers?
In the beginning, every week, and then every 2 weeks, bi-weekly.
When do you make the switch?
After 90 days.
After 90 days.
Yeah.
For the first 3 months.
Yeah.
And what if you replace one manager? Let's just say I want to replace my sales manager,
Mm-hmm.
and with everybody, because they've been with me for a year, let's say, I'm doing bi-weekly. Do you recommend that if I hire this new guy, I do him weekly as well for the 90 days, and then I move to...
Absolutely. Like, especially also for new managers. I mean, like, 90 days is like the maximum. Like, I give the system like to a couple of companies, and they switch like after 60, 50 days, for example, to bi-weekly one-on-ones because it was not needed anymore. But like, especially in the beginning, like, you want to be more micromanaging and make sure that people are on the right track. And then like, you want to fade out a little bit and less micromanagement. Because I think micromanagement is important where it's needed, but should not be the norm for everything, because then you don't get shit done at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, I used to do one-on-ones with my sales manager. Now I onboarded the chief sales officer, and he's the one doing the one-on-ones with the sales manager. At the beginning, should I be still joining those meetings, or should I just maybe QC some recordings?
No, like, you should have a one-on-one with your sales manager, but when he has, or what?
I'm doing now with the chief sales officer.
Okay, yeah. And what is? Then I didn't get the question.
Do I still monitor how he's having the one-on-ones with the sales manager, or do I leave him to do what he needs to do?
Well, no. This I would leave him. Like, this is his job. But if there are problems, then like, you should. And that's the other part, like, about controlling. Eventually, like, you should implement like some controlling department in some ways. But yeah, generally, like, it's his job. when something, and even then, like if there's a problem, like you shouldn't join, like you should figure him out the problem, like you should measure him on his performance, and that he gets his shit together and his area where he's responsible.
You mentioned controlling department?
Yeah, like it's after a certain size, I think it's necessary.
Okay.
Not like if you're under 50 employees, I don't think it's so necessary. But after a certain size, controlling department is important. Because rules without consequences are no rules. Yeah. And people break the rules then. And then your company pays the price for it. So you have to have a mechanism that rules are getting enforced and things are being controlled occasionally. And like the bigger you grow, the more departments there are and the more things are that can go wrong. And so after a while, you definitely need a controlling department that holds up the expectations and accountability.
So controlling department means basically people who double check the whole business's work and every single person work.
Yeah, like for example, that their routines and processes are kept in place. Not everything you can check all the time, but like that's why you do it routinely or like randomly, and check if everything is in place when no one is watching. And it should be other, and then if not, there should be consequences, and people should know also about that.
They work in sync with HR.
Sorry?
They work in sync with HR.
Controlling, yeah. But not. For example, you have also controlling in finance, for example. So controlling is usually like somewhere here.
Yesterday you also mentioned that when we spoke that one of the biggest things when it comes to success and getting ahead and getting stuff done, building your business is knowing your personal like reward system.
Yeah.
So that's like a little bit away from business, but like personal, how you kind of I guess manage yourself. Can you explain it?
Well, it has I think a lot to do with business.
Yes, of course, but it's on the personal side.
So what to do when you're stuck? Like when you're on a plateau, for example, when you cannot push further. And usually it's like most of the time that your reward system might be broken or unclear. So the idea is coming from did anyone here play World of Warcraft? Yes. So I played it too, and I asked myself, like, how did it came? Then I was like, that people like who doesn't get shit done in the real life are, like, for example, I remember from my time playing, there was a guy, he was unemployed, he couldn't get shit done at all outside, but in World of Warcraft, he was the greatest leader. He could lead like 40 people remotely, like who never met in their life. Like he could write a book about remote leadership. Like the tank should attack the monster, and the magician like fire this now at the exact period of time, and the healer and the priest should heal this and that guy. So, and the other guy was delivery man for packages, and for him the same. Like they were super successful in the game, but why they were not successful outside of life? And they complained so hard about how shit life is outside of World of Warcraft. Why it's not that easy to make money like in World of Warcraft. And the thing is, like in the computer games, like we get instant reward. Okay, like we know where to go, what to do, and we have infinite amount of motivation. We can keep going and going and going and going. But in real life, it's not like that, and it's unclear. And that makes us stop doing things, actually. And if you don't break through a plateau, like you should ask yourself basically, what is not clear for me in life? Where do I need more clarity? And if it's numbers, if it's action steps, expectations of what I have to go through, what do I have to get done, and fix your reward system basically in order like to move on. And that can be also understanding numbers. I mean, like if you know, for example, if you have a super clear funnel and out of a sudden, like, you know, okay, I put 100 people through it, and from 100 people I spend like $500, but I get $5,000 out of it, I can repeat this. And out of a sudden, everyone here makes money because the reward system is clear. But then like now maybe you're standing in a plateau and you're like at 200K, 150K, 50K, 15K. And you're like, okay, well, like what can I do more? Because like you don't see the next steps basically in your reward system.
Yeah. Talking about this, we also spoke about it end of last year when I asked you also, you know, my business, you know, I was consistently making 300, 400, 500K a month, doing good, comfortable, right? I technically knew how to get to $1 million a month, just spam on ads and do this and that, but for whatever reason I wasn't like super motivated and pushing to like $1 million a month. And then you talked about this concept of like analyzing your thoughts and going super like deep into it and questioning like why. Can you talk on this topic? Because I think, you know, many people here in the group are, I don't know, 200K a month, but from the outside perspective, you know, I can see it's so easy to get to 300K, 400K, 500K, 600K, and they want to get there, but they don't get there. They hold themselves back somehow.
I don't remember what I told you, sorry.
That you have to analyze your thoughts and question things. Where do beliefs come from?
And teach me what I told you.
Also in combination with the reward system.
Okay. Go further, sounds interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that you just analyze your own thoughts, and you know, when there's a thought, when you're, for example, not motivated or you're not pushing through on, hey, you know, I know how to get the business to, I don't know, $1 million a month, but I'm not doing it. Why am I not doing it? Right? Like really going deep, like writing things down and questioning thoughts, and then creating new thoughts that create emotions and the new state and everything.
This is what I told you.
Yeah.
Sounds very smart. Yeah. Okay. So basically, like, we usually stay the same because we have the same repeated thoughts in our head. Okay. So and this from the same thoughts come the same decision cycles, and if you're stuck, basically, like you have to ask yourself, like, from where are coming, like, what kind of experience do I have in my life? Because if I always have the same experience, I get the same thoughts, and from the same thoughts, I get the same actions. So, what kind of new experience do I need to make? Yeah, in order to get new thoughts that lead me to a new direction, to a better future. And if it's fear-driven usually, then you're like in a very bad place. So you have to analyze what brings the fear and what experiences that I currently have that are the ones that creating the fear, and because this is what keeps you stuck. So if you have this very clear down, from then it's super easy, super simple from my perspective, like to move on, like to create new experiences, new thoughts, new ideas, new beliefs that bring you to a new future.
Yeah.
This is what I told you, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, done.
That part about fear sounded really interesting. Let's say you discover something that gets you in a scarcity, fear-based thinking. Do you then sometimes just ignore the fear and be like, what would I do if I wasn't based on fear thinking? Or are you rather just trying to kill the root that creates that fear for you?
Yeah, like first of all, like what kind of, I mean, like one thing is fear, for example, because there's unknown aspect of it. And when there's constant fear, then I think it has something to do with an experience. Like if it's short-term fear, like of course, like shut up, bitch, and push through. Yeah. But if it's long-term or like consistent, then it's somehow has to do, I think, something with the experience. And like, how can I override basically this experience with something new and better that gives me clarity or confidence or like an option that I can see past that I can see actually something new that is not so fearful, even though it's unknown. Does it make sense?
There's the saying that your business can only grow to the extent that you do as a person.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
The business is an extension of your personality, basically.
Yeah. So what can people do, or what's your number one advice to like get your personality to the next level, but to reinvent yourself and push yourself to the next level so that the business can grow and you can in general build a better life for yourself?
I think, like I just said, like it all starts with clarity where you want to go, and on the other hand, like where you don't want to go, you know? And there's also limited time. I mean, like nobody knows what happens tomorrow, so maybe that's the motivator.
Coming back to the reward system and rewarding yourself so you keep going. And you said in World of Warcraft there was always constant rewards, so you'd always be active.
Yeah.
What is something that we can do in like the real world of business to keep us constantly motivated?
That's a personal question to everyone himself, because for example, I figured out my reward system is looking at numbers. Like when I look at Excel sheets and have clarity and can understand actually how this number was generated and where it's coming from, like for me it's my number one reward system. Yeah, it sounds very nerdy and very odd, and it is, and I like it. And it's when I don't have it. For example, I have a finance team, and if my finance team every month they present me numbers. And when I don't understand where this number is coming from, how it's generated, like, there's no reward for me. Like, it's boring, it's like, we can break through, make an amazing record of revenue. When I don't understand where this number is coming from, it's just like, no dopamine, like no reward. But when I understand, like, we did this, and that led to this number. And on the other hand, like these numbers were like, for example, we had like new trend in reach and video views, impressions, whatever, like converted more people out of that, and I understand the numbers completely. Like it's reward for me, and I'm motivated, and I want to know, like, okay, now how can we increase it? If I don't have the understanding of it, I can give a fuck about increasing or not increasing it. Like if it goes up or down, I don't care. Yeah, this is my reward system, so you have to figure out yours.
You talked a lot about clarity. So for you, how do you find clarity? Right, you're doing a bunch of projects, you're doing the software, payments, all that stuff. So I understand this is a personal question. Like, how do you find clarity? How do you decide, hey, I'm going to focus on this project this quarter, or I'm going to take on a new project, and that new project is going to be X, Y, Z?
Like, of course, like you should know where you want to go in life, yeah, and then like whatever is like bringing you further, like for this general goal in life, you should accept, and what not you don't accept.
But how do you pick that? How do you find that clarity, or is that something you always have? Like, do you never have like, hey, I have project A and I have project B, I don't know which one to pick, and then how do you decide which one you pick?
Pick both. Why don't pick both?
Okay.
No, like
Just pick everything.
no, like I mean, like everything in my I have in my life should be because you choose it, yeah, and because you want it, and that's why you're exactly where you are in life, and you get exactly what you deserve, yeah, and nothing more, nothing less. So you should know like where you want to go in life, and whatever in the ultimate direction, the aspiring goal or aspiring life, wherever you want to go, like you should decide like, does it bring me further? Can I grow on it? Can I become experience a better version of myself on it in the process? And if not, if it's not interesting for me in any of these ways that brings me further, then I don't take it. And if one is interesting and the other is interesting as well, then why not take both? How can I handle both? And maybe become even faster a better version, because it forces me faster to grow. Because there is also like no greatness without pressure, right?
Any other questions? Marketing, funnels, scaling, Facebook ads, personal stuff, daily routine. No? Okay. Do you have something to share? What's maybe one lesson or something that in the last 6-12 months that you learned? Something where like, wow, this is a game changer. Something personally or business-wise?
I think like a lot of things, but I need a context. Otherwise, like too many possibilities.
What's the number one thing that comes to your mind? Where you're like, hey, I wish I would have learned this earlier.
Context. I need context. There are too many things.
Okay. Clary?
I will ask about biohacking. So when it comes to biohacking, when we're talking about health, yeah, you said the context is the context. So like kind of advice or some kind of experience that you made in terms of biohacking when it comes to increase your health, like what can you recommend for them?
Yeah, we had to talk about this 2 days ago, for maybe like 6 hours.
Maybe you can tell.
Do some research on parasites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like but the basic things like do gym, sport, running. And on the other hand, like not like to for a couple years I didn't drink at all any alcohol, and I saw like no real benefit from it, and started occasionally like drinking again. Didn't hurt, but brought many creative ideas. So I mean, like a drink here and there is not that bad, as sometimes it's sad. And yeah, caffeine. I like nicotine. So yeah.
Jackie, here's a question too.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm really curious about like what made you start in code art. Was it like just because you love numbers and there are like tons of it, or was it that you discovered an issue before?
No, I was frustrated with another payment provider, and like I know these guys from the other payment provider for quite a long time. At that time I gave them a lot of help, like regarding developing features, and then I was also requesting like, show me please the customer lifetime value, because I want to know how much can I spend. Can I go also negatively in the short term and profitably in the long term? And they were like, no, our system, like it's too complicated. Our databases are not working. And then I crashed it in the last quarter of 2016 like 3 times. And the peak cost us $200,000 per hour and or euros. And then I was like, okay, maybe I can build it myself. I have my own projects. And then I calculated with a business friend, and he was like, yeah, I have also my projects. And our project should cover it. And when we can sell it to someone, like even better, then we make even a little bit money. But like we have the numbers and scale our projects. And then like we had no experience at that time with software development. And then we were like calculating the numbers, and we're like, oh yeah, only cost 50,000 euros to develop it. Let's do it. Wasn't like that. Plot twist. Cost a little bit more, like 20 times more, and even more after that. But yeah, that's how we started.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it someone behind?
You can go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to ask something very similar. So, as far as I know your journey, you started mostly with marketing thinking, then you added this whole software component to it. What are the overlaps between marketing offers and software offer, and what were sort of the surprises or pitfalls that you ran into?
Software?
Yeah.
Software, well, there was a lot of lessons. One of the lessons was like, we shouldn't choose, like basically like if you choose an agency, pay on milestones and not on time, because all agencies charge you on time and then things never get finished and always get expensive. The other thing was like, have only dedicated teams and contractual punishments inside the contract. Otherwise, like you get scammed sometimes, or like for example, we were given like on paper senior developers and they were juniors and stuff like that. So quite careful. Better hire your own team from the beginning. Hire a tech lead, and he has to build the team. I think like these are like the biggest ones that come to my mind right now. And on the on the other hand, like start with a like a product manager should have experience and understand the product deeply. And usually like I think like the best softwares were always made by people who wanted to solve their own problem, and not like who discovered usually like something in the market. Very rarely, I think. Like because you need to have a very deep understanding of how the product should look like, and if you're out of the market, like you have a way higher chance to succeed with the software. And put a great effort on user experience and UI design, because it can also make or break a software. Because like great design reduces mental effort, mental pain. Like the best analogy what I always give for that is like the Uber map. Uber is so successful basically because of the Uber map. Yeah? Like the service, transportation, people from A to B is like was existing already. But now you had like in front of you, like you know where the car was basically. And this is very convenient because it erases all the mental pain. Where is the car right now? Like, do I have to wait outside in the sun or in the cold? It erases the mental pain. And you, on the other hand, like you have benefits using your time more efficiently. And thinking about this when you do software is, I think, super important. I don't understand.
You need to speak louder.
How do you optimize your own life for like productivity? Last month, for example, you said sometimes it's like going all out on business and then you shift his focus. What works for you like when it comes to the perfect routine for productivity?
Like the perfect routine for productivity is this, like literally. this is a perfect routine for productivity, because there is nothing more productive than really good people who are aligned on something. Like before, like when I started, I also had like sleepless nights and so on, like, and I was young and I could do that. But eventually, like, you can only do this for so long. And if you, after a couple years, still have to pull out all-nighters or like all the time or going all in, like, you're doing definitely something wrong. Because you couldn't translate like the output energy that is coming from you into your company. Like, to be successful 1 or 2 years, everyone can do that, literally, guys. It's not special. Everyone can be successful for 1, 2, 3 years. Yeah? But try to being consistent over time and grow over time and going bigger. Like, you have to have a system like to make other people great, not only you. It cannot be always anything dependent just of you. Yeah? When you're young, it's great and it's necessary in the beginning, and it's impossible without it. You have to do it, but eventually you have to do this as well if you want to continue. And this is also something we spoke about yesterday. If you cannot move past this stage, like, you either go down, go lower, and you're asking yourself why I can't replicate my early success, and then certain people get eaten by it. And then, like, your mind fucks with you. And then you were once successful, never again. But it's another level of pushing. You still have to push this, but it's different.
Regarding content and brand, are you building a personal brand or a business brand?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
So which one do you put more effort on?
I put same effort on everything. I have multiple companies, multiple brands.
Is there someone who you learn a lot about that you would recommend? Like, let's say, we could go to a mastermind to specialize in leadership, like Dan Sullivan or Pedde or something. Is there someone who you learn specifically a lot from certain books, or like leadership coaching or mentoring, or would you say you figure most of that out, pick it up just from
The last part I didn't get.
Like, is there someone who really shifted you forward, like where you would say, hey, I can really recommend Persons X books, like Raoul spoke about Lencioni's books a lot.
About who?
Patrick Lencioni, when it comes to like team building stuff.
Okay.
Is there someone who you learn a lot from that you can highly recommend, or is it just everywhere a little bit and you craft your own thing?
I mean, like, I read a couple of books, but the problem, this I created by myself, for myself. Because I found this all not realistically applicable into something that really works. It was just one way or the other. And so often it was also not for our industry. It was like either for small and medium enterprises that have a lot of admin and production, where everything is always the same. And with performance marketing, like, you have to be able to adapt. And this sometimes was, like, teaching people how to grow things, I think, is still the hardest things, especially like with numbers. Intensity and speed as well on that. But yeah, so this is how it came.
Maybe where we have the topic right now, like where you get their knowledge from, do you have, let's say, 5 recommendations for books for business owners that they should check out that helped you a lot? Maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 specifically for business, and then regarding mindset and personal development?
I cannot even remember 2 books right now. I have such a short-term memory because I'm somewhere else in my mind already. I need to think. I don't know. I'm not reading that much these days now. But like, Russ said it before, like Ready, Fire, Aim. I read this also when I was younger. I think that's a great book. It's cool. If you didn't read it, it's good. Yeah, but sorry, I have a short-term memory. I don't like. I really. I don't remember.
I have a question. So, do you have a C-suite on your holding company and also C-suite on the other companies?
Yeah.
Or just the companies?
No, I have a C-suite. Yeah.
That also coaches the other C-suites from the other companies, or do you share them?
No, we share them. Like for example, so for example, Copecard has its own C-suite, and Marketing MBA, my other company, also has its own C-suite. So.
And they're not being shared.
Sorry?
They're not being shared.
No, they're not being shared, but there's like, for example, knowledge transfer. There's, for example, there are company events that we do, like symposiums, and then like we share like what worked very well, what sucked very well, and then like you transfer like the best and worst practices and things to repeat and better not to repeat. Yeah.
And do you have someone that helps you manage all the C-suites or no? Like a COO?
Yeah, I have a COO, yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, this is also very, for example, when I gave the example with the guy from Amazon, he was also CEO, but he sucked so bad. And my current CEO, he worked before 3 years in Copecard in the executive role, and then he transferred to Marketing MBA, and he's amazing. And wasn't at Amazon.
Jackie, you had another question, I think?
Yeah, I have a question. What do you think made you so successful with your digital marketing agency? Like, was it your creativity? Was it the speed? Was it like a good moment? Yeah.
Probably a mix of everything, to be honest. Speed, creativity, intensity, and the right moment at the right time, for sure. Bit of luck, maybe. But I mean, like the main thing is I mean, like when I started there, everyone had the same outgoing position, okay, at that time, but I was the only one who was using the opportunity, and like in 2016, like most people didn't spend more than $500, $800 on Facebook. Then you were already really good, like if you spent this on a daily basis. And I just looked into the numbers and thought it makes sense to spend 5K.
So it was numbers again.
But sorry?
So it was numbers that also.
For sure, numbers. But on the other hand, also creativity. So how do things go viral? How not to look like an ad? Like, because all the ads were looking the same, and I was like, okay, how to make an ad not look like an ad? And create basically emotions and make ads that people want to share. And since then I made ads that people want to share. And that was also like huge driver of success because it created emotions.
I have another question. Are you leveraging something today that feels as easy as Facebook ads 5 years ago?
I wouldn't say it was easy 5 years ago or like 8 years ago. It was never easy. But you just had to spend, like I said, reward system. My reward system was clear. That was the reason why I was able in the first place to spend the required focus to spot opportunities that I could leverage. Without my clear reward system, I couldn't spend and dedicate focus to spot opportunities that I could leverage.
And his question again, is there something that now feels like Facebook ads in 2016, where you're like, okay, I need to look into this. This is like insanely interesting right now, that has like a big leverage?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think like the whole AI space and the possibilities that you can do, like if you put focus on there, like how to get a leverage, or how to get ahead with automation is pretty insane. But you have to spend the time and focus needed for that.
Do you hire, for example, head of marketing, or also do you hire based on responsibility to certain KPIs that matter to you? For example, you are responsible now for the KPI customer lifetime value, or do you just say, hey, this falls under, I don't know, like head of product, sales, maybe product, I don't know. Yeah.
No, so I don't hire for KPI now, but it depends on the role and the strategy. But yeah, like for example, like if you so if you're responsible for a project, then of course you should know how to work with numbers and KPIs, and which KPIs drive growth. For example, this is part of our hiring process. When we ask, like, for certain projects, we hire people and ask them, okay, like how did you grow, for example, in the past brand, and people has to describe it, and has, like, usually like the most competent people, like they can describe actually exactly how they did it, and people who are more on the manager side, or like who have in their CV standing like, oh yeah, like I was responsible like for growing or building department that grew this amount of revenue, and then you ask them, and then they're like, yeah, like yeah, we did this and that, and this. You ask deeper and deeper questions. Like, yeah, how did you do it? And then they're like, oh yeah, like I had like 16 people, and like we had it together, we did it together, and blah blah. And they can't give you a specific answer. While someone who actually really did it, they're like, okay, like we created these ads. We figured out they work pretty well. We run them on YouTube. We figured out this audience, and we started with this amount, and we scaled it up then. And so, like, they can give you a way detailed or more detailed way how they went there. And these are the people that you usually want, and not the one who takes the credit for that.
Okay. One last question. Anyone has one? Okay, I guess that's it. Raoul, thank you so much for the time. Okay, cool. I guess quick break, and then we'll see. Maybe another speech.